Welcome to the Global Flag Football League podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Global Flag Football League podcast. Today, we're thrilled to have a special guest, former NFL wide receiver, professional bass fisherman, entrepreneur, and owner of the Georgia Warriors and the GFFL, Kendall Newson. Kendall's journey is nothing short of incredible, from setting records at Middle Tennessee State and playing in the NFL to building a successful career in professional bass fishing and launching his impactful community initiatives like Teach a Child to Fish. He's continuously reinventing himself. Now he's bringing the passion and leadership to flag football as the owner of the Georgia Warriors and the GFFL. In this episode, we'll dive into his football career, his transition to entrepreneurship, and his vision for the future of flag football. Kendall, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Excited to get into this, man. So, if you could take us back to your time, this is kind of where I want to start, but can you take us back to your time at Middle Tennessee State? What were the key moments that shaped your career, and what do you think made you such a dominant receiver while leading the team to a Sun Belt championship?
Well, I can tell you right now, a lot went into it. A lot of
Yeah,
coaches, a lot of players, a lot of time on the field. I would think, coming out of high school, my thought was to go to Georgia or Auburn or, one of the big D1 schools. And I had
yeah,
looks at Georgia and Auburn, went on the recruiting trips and stuff.
right.
But we had a wide receiver coach at MTSU that always came to all of my practices, spring practices, and summer practices. And MTSU was going into D1 the next year. So it was 1998, 1999, they're going to go into D1. So I felt like I was going to be able to play,
Okay.
right when I got to college. And that
Yeah,
was the decision I made, versus going to a school. Maybe I got to sit on the bench. Maybe I got to prove myself to the coaches or go right in with coaches that wanted me to play. So I decided to go to MTSU. And I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made,
yeah,
in my sports career other than GFFL,
right.
but yeah, Middle Tennessee, man, I just hit the field. I think back on my college days, and I can remember going on the field a couple of times, and I talked to my coach, and he was like, "Well, you got the talent. You can play. You can play in the next level,
Yeah,
and you just got to dedicate yourself." So I took that talk very seriously, where I went out and I decided to every time that I crossed into the field, the practice field, cross the gate,
yeah,
that I made up my mind, before I strapped up, I made up my mind that this was going to be the best practice I had every day.
mm,
And I think that mindset took me to a place that was, competing on a high level, even in practice. So I think that mindset of making practice the best I can make it every day was what got me into the league.
right. Man, a lot of people talk about something similar, but not a lot of people don't do that. Like how difficult is that to make that mindset shift and make it happen every day of practice? Because sometimes you show up. I mean, I played sports, and there's a lot of athletes that know exactly what I'm talking about. You show up to practice, and it's like, man, another day on the grind. It's like I just want to be here. And so how is it? How difficult
Yep.
was it to get to that point to where you knew that if I don't do this, I'm not going to be great. I'm not going to get to that next level.
In my mind, I think for me, the type of guy I am, like I played basketball, I ran track, and I played football in high school. So I was in shape,
Yeah,
and I think for me, my mindset was to be the best that I could be and compete every day. And I think what you have to do is not carry the bag of, look, you know how you can just carry that bag and it weighs down on you? Like, I don't
yes.
want to go. I don't want to go. And you start the cycle of the negative thought process and the negative processes. So when it get hard in practice, you never wanted to be there anyway.
Right,
So
right.
I just took it as I gotta be here. I gotta practice hard. So I'm always make it fun and take that excitement and change it into really a motivational spot. Like, I'm looking forward to practice every day,
Yeah.
because I want to do this different or I want to get better. And if you take that mindset to it, you really start getting good and it get a little easier.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, no, you're right. And it's compound effect probably, right? You do it once and you do it over and
Right,
over and eventually it gets to a point where it becomes
right.
easier, right? Yeah, that makes sense, man. No, that's
competition. Right.
right, right.
Right.
So what was the transition like from college to the NFL? Any standout memories from your time with, the Jaguars, Titans, or Dolphins?
Oh man, plenty of them.
Yeah,
Plenty of them. The guys I played with, just the being drafted for one was crazy. I can remember we was all in the house, and then I got drafted to Jacksonville. You don't know where you're gonna go. You don't know what coach is gonna get you. I'm projected to go three, four, five. Then I end up going seventh round. So you're just excited to be drafted. I think that whole draft experience is one that takes a player through a lot of mental space, right? Like you
right.
you just don't know. Man, I did this right. I didn't do this. I didn't. I ran a 4.5, 4.4, high 4.4 at the combine. So I got the opportunity to go experience the combine,
Yeah.
and what, the Wonderlic test. They was giving us the Wonderlic test then, just see how smart you were or see what you knew and how you talk to people and how you were. So I think, the biggest transition from that you'll hear everybody say from college was how fast everything was moving and how they expected you to know and get it with time telling you,
Right.
hey, we're gonna do this type of pass or we're gonna do this type of play, throw you the whole playbook. You better learn it, or when you get on the field, you don't know. And then everything changes. They might change a new wrinkle tomorrow, and the next day it might be something different. So you just had to pick up the game real fast on the play calling, and then
Hmm.
your skills. You had to change your skills from college to pros because now everybody is good and everybody is fast. So I think that was the biggest thing to really get as a college player, especially moving from slot to outside receiver. The guy is closer to you, so you got to get your hands up a lot faster to get off the press release, and you got to get into your route. So those things are, I'm playing against Sertain, Sam Madison, um, Junior Seau, Jason Taylor,
Right.
Zach Thomas. Miami had a crazy defense, and Jacksonville is Fernando Bryant. So it was always a big time cornerback that I had to go up against. So
Right.
either you get it right or you get cut.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. It's you're right. Playing that slot versus that, outside receiver, you're having to go against linebackers or nickel corners, I mean, sometimes it's definitely different. You're right. And so, did you get any chance at slot? Did they ever move you inside?
Yeah, we did a lot of slot. Most people don't know. Right before I got hurt,
Yeah.
it was me and Wes Wilker, uh, Chris Chambers, James McKnight, and David Boston.
Okay.
We were all on the team together. So, I was third and doing punt return, and we were competing, and then I got injured, so I didn't get a chance to finish out the whole season. But slot, man, I love slot because
Yeah.
you're off the ball, you can move, you get a little head start, or you can get into your route a little bit better
Yeah.
um, with the guy being off you. But the main thing was, coming from slot in college, always was had my hands down.
Right.
Come off the ball and your chest is exposed. So when
Yes.
they moved me to number one, I was doing the same thing with my kind of hands down,
Yeah.
and boom, I get jammed. I'm like, man, what's going on? So
Yeah.
coach said, coach one day he said, Kendall, we're gonna fire you today if you can't get off the ball.
Yeah.
Right? I'm thinking like, oh my God. So I go into the hotel room. I'm up all night trying to figure out what am I doing wrong.
Yeah.
And I would make a step and I'm making a step. I'm thinking like, dang, he's still right. So it wasn't until I put my hands up to when I stepped, my hands went forward to hit his hands that
Yes.
I knew now I had to fight him before I did anything else and get around him before I tried to run my routes.
God.
So that right there made me play faster. And then nobody wanted to put their hands up because I would just knock them down.
Right, right, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the techniques are just so much different, right? I mean, it's just like you said, the speed of
Right.
it because it's the elite when you're in the NFL, right? It's the best of the best from college.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not, it just keeps getting better and better. You're the man in high school, and then if you're lucky enough to be the man in college,
And
chances
in
of you
college,
being the
yep.
man in the NFL is going to be slim, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
difficult. Yeah, no, I completely understand, and that's awesome. So after the NFL, you played arena football, right? So was that a difficult switch for you to, learn the different like the rules of the arena football, and then, is it similar to people who might be transitioning from the NFL to flag football? Do you think that is it a big shift?
Yes, depending on the player and
Okay.
depending on the position, right? But I think for skill, wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs, it's the same. Maybe it's still a little different, but for me, if you remember Kurt Warner and I forget all the guys that played with Kurt Warner, the receivers. Forgive me, guys,
Yeah.
but I can't think of their name. But you remember Kurt Warner had the great team,
Yep. Isaac
throwing the ball all
Bruce.
the time, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Isaac Bruce. I can't think of the guys,
Torrey
but
Holt.
Torrey Holt. Yeah,
Yes.
man,
Yes.
come
Yeah.
on, you
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
get.
So those guys was really running routes like arena football running. I mean, it's
Right.
like boom, 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 bomb, and they gone.
Yeah.
It wasn't bomb, bomb, and then you get out your break. It's arena football is 1 foot, you out, 1 foot, you out.
Got
Every
it.
route is like that, right? In
Yeah.
arena football. So when I was playing arena football, it made it real fun. And I always was a guy that can hit one, a right boom, a speed out, or a deep speed out, or a
Yeah.
post. And sometimes when you ran a dig in the league, you did come to the stop. You would boom, 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 and then you would go. In
Got it.
arena football, a dig is a 1 footer, and boom, and you
Yeah.
gone. And if you look back at tape and you look at Kurt one of them, Torrey Holt, those guys was running them just like that. So
Right.
that's what makes them so good. So I think arena football speed is a little faster for
Hmm.
for receivers and the skill position. So I just think it's a little faster there because the field is so small.
Right. Yeah, it's more
Yeah.
of a speed league, right? Even similar
Yeah.
with flag football, because it's 5-on-5, so all those guys are just it's quick, it's fast compared to
Yeah,
having.
you just go 70 points real fast.
Yes, yeah.
And it won't take and you won't be tired. It's
Right.
just wow. But yeah, so arena football was a good teacher for me. I believe I met the Florida Stingrays.
Hmm.
I got down there and I met Jay.
Yeah.
Um, and it was funny when I met Jay because I was like, this guy's serious about football, man.
Yeah.
Thinking like, I'm like, who's this guy? He's
Right.
just like, he's calling everybody, and I'm like, okay, he's in a wheelchair, but he's running the show.
Man,
And
running
I'm
the
like,
show.
okay. I said, okay, Jay. So Jay, I love the Florida Stingrays because they gave me an opportunity to play when I left the Dolphins,
Yeah.
and I was trying to figure out what to do after I had got removed from the Dolphins, and I was still kind of a little injured,
Yeah.
so I wanted to make sure I go get some film. So I got film with them, and I only played like a half a season
Hmm.
with the Stingrays, and I got moved up to D1 arena football to the Georgia Force here in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and played with them. Did great. We made it to the playoffs, and the first playoff game we got put out,
Mm.
and the next year the whole league folded.
Really?
Everything folded. I
Yeah.
was so just devastated, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, arena football is a very fast sport. And if you're a receiver, you can make some good money at it and get a good fan base because you're gonna score a lot.
Right, right. Yeah, no, you're right about that. I mean, it is such a fast game, an exciting game, and that's why I think I'm so excited about flag football because it's similar, maybe not as much contact, of course, but the speed of it, the athleticism. I mean, you got to be fast, you got to be able to move, and it's pretty cool to see. But before we get into getting in, speaking about the GFFL, I want to talk about your time, transitioning after football, because you transitioned into fishing. So for the listeners that don't know, you transitioned into fishing, entrepreneurship, and leadership roles, right? So what was the
Yes.
biggest challenge in reinventing yourself after football, and what kept you motivated?
Well, I think from a little boy, I was always fishing.
Okay.
It was fishing, fishing, fishing with my dad, my brothers, my sisters. And every time we got in the summer, my dad had us fishing all the time. So it was basketball, fishing, football, and track. And I think once I got to the NFL, I kept thinking like what I wanted to do after football. And it was always I wanted to go into bass fishing. and
Okay.
I wanted to be a professional angler, travel with the wrap boat, wrap truck, the jersey, and fish tournaments and speak up to the sponsors. I think what happened, it kind of happened faster than what I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was fishing one day and I caught like over 100 bass sitting on the bank,
Oh.
and I was in a cast. I had my foot up on a cooler. I'm in a cast and I'm catching over 100 bass. And I started thinking to myself, I was like, wait a minute, I want to teach kids how to fish, right?
Uh-huh.
So it stayed in my brain for a minute, and then I developed a program called Teach a Child to Fish, and that's to you give a child a fish, you eat for a day, you teach a child a fish, you eat for a lifetime.
Mhm.
And you get men and women around the kids, the community around the kids, and they fish. We talk about different struggles that they might be going through, career paths. We feed them and we just show them love. So
Yeah.
that was basically the program. We started that in 2008, 2008. Yep.
Mhm.
And I've been doing it ever since. I ended up going to tons of boat shows, selling yourself. You had to sell yourself. You had to, write proposals, write grants, did the whole thing with the nonprofit. I filled it out myself here with my team here. And eventually I landed a lucrative deal with Bass Pro Shops in about 2012, 13.
Okay.
And from there, we did some things with Bass Pro Shops at their stores. They signed me to go and fish around the country in bass fishing tournaments. So I'm doing speaking engagements, I'm doing commercials, I'm taking kids fishing,
Man.
just doing a whole lot in the fishing industry. So I've been doing that now from since 2012. COVID hit, everything kind of broke up in the fishing community, and I'm still doing that. I just don't have the big sponsor right now, but definitely have other sponsors that support me. We're doing fishing tournaments. Like I have a fishing tournament April 12th
Okay.
here where I stay at. We're doing a high school fishing tournament. So we've moved from actually fishing outings and taking kids fishing and the groups over the years to now we're doing high school fishing tournaments and pro tournaments. So we're
Nice.
building that farm league to pro.
Awesome. Oh, that's
Yes.
that's sweet, man. What is it about fishing that you like so much? Is it not just the aspect of fishing, and then the ability to, I mean, you thought about this initiative while you were sitting there on the bank by yourself and gives you that time to think, but is it also that competitive nature, getting to compete still just like you did in football?
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah.
definitely the competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, you're competing against the fish. You're
Right.
competing against elements, right?
Yeah.
You compete against rain, wind, sun, hot when it's hot and it's cold, the changes of weather, different water clarity, whether it's muddy, clear. You're using different types of bait. You're using worms, crankbait, spinner baits, buzz baits, frogs, jigs,
Yeah.
hoops, everything. So to me, it's definitely a mental game.
Hmm.
So it challenged you, fishing challenged the mental capacity of an angler, especially when you're competing against 200 guys
Yeah.
and you're trying to win money, and all of those guys are good too.
Right.
So it brings it back to me, it's the competition part for me, but it's the love for fishing and the outdoors that you get nowhere else. It's therapy. I get to take my mind and when you're on the water and you're fishing for 8 hours and you're concentrating on thinking like a fish,
Yeah.
right? Where did the fish go? Are they grouped here? Are they on the rocks? Are they on the trees? Are they on a sandbar?
Yeah.
Are they shallow? Are they deep? So all of this, you are putting this game plan together. And that I think that's what I love the most because, just like football,
Hmm.
you're putting a game plan together. You're putting, whether we're gonna throw deep on this team,
Yeah.
are we gonna play action this team to death today? Or are we gonna smash mouth them? How are we gonna play this game? Or are we gonna blitz them all the time? Are we gonna
Yeah.
hang back and cover? So you start to dissect your game plan, and you go out there just like fishing, just like football, just like flag football. You go out there with your game plan, and if you beat me at my game plan, you beat me.
Yeah.
But we're
Exactly.
gonna we're gonna make that game plan better every time we go out there. And that's what I love about fishing.
Right. Yep. And then, adjust while you're out there fishing, make adjustments and things like that. It's very similar, and I
Yeah.
love fishing, but I haven't done it competitively and I never really thought about it that way. But you're absolutely right. All of that is very similar to like the sport of football.
Oh yeah. It's to me, golf is hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Golf is like very, very hard to be consistent.
Yes.
Fishing is too.
Yeah.
You never have a guy in fishing, right, that can, okay, you got a 10 game season, 10 tournament season in fishing. You rarely see a guy going to win 4 times in a row, 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
You might see him win 2 tournaments back to back,
Yeah.
but 3 and 4, no.
Really.
So like in football, you might have a team go 8-0.
Yes.
But it's still like in golf, you rarely see a guy just rip off 5 PGAs back to
Yeah.
back, right?
Exactly.
So to me, fishing is very, very competitive. It's very hard to be successful at it because it's not like stick and ball sports.
Right.
You have to have sponsors that are going to pay your way. You're not getting a $7 million contract to go and fish. So it's very I call it the secrets of
Mm.
fishing
Okay.
that I use. I call it the secret things that happens on the water, the thought process, the things that you get to remember, think about, and do that normally in the busy day of life, you don't get that opportunity to do that.
Right.
And so yeah, it's definitely a hard sport. If it was easy, everybody will be doing it,
Yeah.
but it's not easy at all.
Right. Right. Yeah. I can see it being, more like a balance between, being therapeutic, but at the same time, very stressful. Right.
Oh
Right.
man. Imagine driving from Georgia to New York, pulling a boat to go fish at a lake you never fished in before.
Yeah.
And you have to do a game plan on the way there, the week before there. Listen, if anybody wants to go into fishing as a professional, trust me, you better either get somebody that know and talk to them, watch a lot of YouTube. Nothing is going to prepare you for the road.
Yeah.
Other than being on the road, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't get, like you said, you don't get those sponsors, then it just becomes a real expensive hobby, right?
Oh, man, I've
Real
been there.
expensive.
Don't even want the ticket no more. I've been there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's one thing to, fish for yourself and be competitive and get to that high level of it. But I mean, like you talked about, community has been community involvement has been very important to you. So why has it been so important to you over the years?
I think that's my makeup.
Okay.
That's who I am. Community has always been important to me. I see the young men out doing things that they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Fishing kept me away from that when I was younger.
Mm.
Fishing was something where my friends would be like, "Where you been at all spring break? Where you been all summer?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, I've been at practice and fishing."
Yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't get in trouble. So, when I think about community, there's things that I can do to help and provide for people like the help that I got,
Yeah.
So I look at, these fishing tournaments as adding to the community or these fishing outings adding to the community. When I first started teaching how to fish, it was weird because I just went to a local Walmart and sat there with a sign that my nieces made, my little cousins made, and it said, teach a child to fish. And I sat there in the parking lot waiting for people to come up with poles and reels at the back of my truck. So I'm thinking like I'm going crazy, something
Yeah.
not right. Right. But then I prayed. I prayed to God. I said, God, if you give me one kid, I'll stay out here and do it.
Yeah.
One kid came every other
Oh
hour.
man.
And after about 2 weeks of that sitting at the store, I had like 25 kids. I was like, okay, now I got 25 kids I'm talking to. So that first group we went out, and I think the light bulb went off. It was like, what? All you need is 25 kids.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
I was like, that's it. Just take 25 kids all the time. And that is why community is important, is because you don't know who needs the resources and the
Yeah.
tools. And you would think that fishing is just about fishing. To me, it's not. it's a way that I can reach somebody through an activity that now they're going to have a dialogue and a conversation to talk to somebody about that's meaningful,
Yeah.
you know, that can get them into a job interview, that can get them, where they can have a reasonable grown man to man or woman to woman conversation about real life issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing because you never know what life you're going to impact, and so the fact that you have your journey has been very unique. The fact that you can sit there and talk to kids about football, about fishing, about now flag football and
Yep.
arena football, all of that stuff. I mean, you took so many different paths that I mean, you're interesting, man, very interesting. So it's really cool that you can have those
Thank you,
conversations with
man.
kids and, possibly really change their lives.
Yeah, and that's what we out to do. We're
Yeah.
out to just give them that. You know how you need that sight of where you can go.
Yeah.
Sometimes these kids can't see it.
Yeah.
I've been with kids. They're frustrated, and you wonder why they're frustrated. Well, they're frustrated because they don't read that well,
Right.
right? So imagine going into your neighborhood and you can't read what McDonald's says, or you can't read what Checkers is saying, or you
Yeah.
can't pick up what the stores are saying, and they're in your community. And not only that, when you walk outside in your community, that might be drugs, violence, guns, things like that. But when they go fishing, they feel a whole different type of atmosphere.
Yeah.
They feel love, they feel the outdoors, they feel, it's non-threatening. So sometimes we need that time to reflect and see what's really important, and this has been hard. I
Yeah.
remember one funny story.
Yeah.
I had a kid, come out to one of my tournaments, and he hurt my heart. He hurt my feelings so bad. I think he just hurt my pride, right?
You're right.
He goes, he goes, you played for the Miami Dolphins. I said, I did. He said, and you out here taking us fishing? Like, man. He was like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was looking at him like, you don't know I'm out here trying to help you. I'm trying to teach
Right.
you. But all in his mind was, you play for the Dolphins, and why are you out here taking us
Right.
fishing? But that taught me a very humbling experience of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm very patient. Fishing makes you very patient.
Yeah.
You can't have everything when you want it. It doesn't come when you want it. But like they say, it comes right on time. So you have to wait and you have to be in the moment.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like football. When your number is called, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm always prepared, and that's what fishing does for me.
Right. Yeah. And, every fish is a gift, I mean, every time you catch one,
Right.
just like every pass is a gift, every time you get the opportunity to get the ball, when you look at it that way, it's amazing. And, you're giving these kids an outlet, another outlet, and that's amazing to see, man. I love it so much. And, well, thanks for touching
Yeah,
on that, Kendall. I do appreciate it, man. I did
okay.
want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the Global Flag Football League, and
Okay.
what led you to get involved with them and, what excites you most about the opportunity to operate a team and get the Georgia Warriors going.
Well, first, I would just say thanks to Jay, man. Jay has
Yeah.
just been a real, I don't even, the words, right? Because
Right.
when you know someone like Jay and they call you with what he's doing, what his vision is, and how he's moving around the football industry. First of all, I love football. I'm a football head. And then to see someone that, did the arena football with the Florida Stingrays, and then now he's doing the GFFL, I told him right off the bat, count me in.
Yeah.
I'm game. And, I'm from Georgia. The Georgia Warriors are going to be a great football team, but, just the organization, being a part of the organization, being with something new that's growing. The other thing that I like about GFFL is that it's flag football
Yeah.
and that it's non contact sport. I
Right.
think the NFL have a lot to say or to do when it comes to concussions. We all suffer from them,
Yeah.
different things like that. I think it opens up the sport for females to play
Hmm.
the sport at a high level, the Olympics, college. I think the upside of flag football being that we are in a professional league as we are now with GFFL, that we have a long way to go and a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
That's what gets me excited about it, and then just knowing that it came from a good friend like Jay to bring me on board. So I'm excited to see, once we get the first season off the ground, once we
Yeah.
get that first season off the ground, um, I can visualize us really doing some big things, sponsors, medical people coming on board as sponsors. I could just see a lot of traction going from city to city with flag football.
Yeah. No, you can definitely see the vision, through Jay and everyone that I've spoken with through the teams, I mean, it's amazing. The movement is exciting, and
Yeah.
you brought up a good point about concussions. Do you see a lot of guys potentially using this as a different option for their careers as this thing takes off instead of going the NFL route? Or even if they started in the NFL and then transitioning like you did from the NFL to arena ball, do you think this would probably be a safer route or at least another option that they can utilize, for a career?
Yeah, I could see that happening. Most guys are aware of the concussion,
Right.
right? Um, the NFL is aware of it. It's not a good topic
Right.
that they like to talk about,
Yeah.
but it's a real topic. And I think the more you dig into it, I think the parents are the ones that's going to start
Mhm.
making a lot of the decisions
Yeah.
on where they have their kids participate. Even for me,
Hmm.
my child, I don't have any kids, but my son would definitely have to prove to me that he can play football. I didn't play little league ball. I just started playing at high school, but we was already rough in the community.
Yeah.
So, but you have to have to make it to the NFL. It's not a lot of us. I think it's on like 20,000
Yeah.
NFL players
Right.
ever, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of us. And what happens is with the NFL, they're really taking I call them gladiators. They're
Hmm.
taking the champions and gladiators out of the community,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now, just imagine if it wasn't the NFL and all of those gladiators that had all of that male testosterone, all that going, all that swagger, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, just imagine if they were all just still in the community having to work somewhere.
Hmm.
Maybe the community will be different. But they're out playing football. Is a very highly contact sport. Concussions happens all the time. Injuries happens all the time. With flag football, you don't have that.
Yeah.
Now, the money is different for
Hmm.
sure. Um, who says that flag football couldn't get to a good, really, $1 million player? It could,
Yes. Yes.
or more. Just because it has the Olympics tied to it too. So anything with the Olympics tied to it can really get up there.
Hmm.
And GFFL, I believe, is on that mission to be able to do that. So I really think it comes down to the parents,
Yeah.
either saying yes, go play contact, or go play flag football.
Hmm.
Who knows how that goes later? But
Yeah.
there's a ton of young people that love flag football.
Right. Well, the beauty of it is the fact that they have the option now, right? I mean, flag football has been around for a little while, but I think it's the traction of it now is just exploding. So the fact that, colleges are making it a thing and then now it's going to become a professional sport and it's going to be in the Olympics. The fact that the option is there for the kids and the parents, I think that's what they like the most, and I agree with you 100%. I have twin boys and I'm definitely going to hold them out until, at very latest, late in middle school because of the fact that, I know I played football through college as well. And so understanding the
Yep.
contact of it, it's just, I think that for me, I would like for them to understand the game and it allows them to understand the game from that perspective and not worried about getting their head knocked off while they're running a route, at a young age because it's just part of it. You understand the
Yeah,
game
and that
and,
yeah,
yeah,
the other part of that is too, man. People always ask me, why don't you go coach? Like,
yeah,
why don't I go coach football? I
yeah,
tell them, look, if you played in the NFL, it's different.
yeah, I bet.
I mean, for me, it's different. I'm very serious when it comes to football. Very serious when it comes to everything, but football, I'm very, very serious, and you have to want to do it. But certain things turn me off. If I see a coach slap a kid upside the head, I mean, this kid is 11 years old, 12 years old, 7 years old. he don't know what he's doing.
No, you're
You know,
right.
and you can be like, get over here, bomb, bomb, and you're cussing them out and this and that. I just don't go with that. You know,
Right.
I don't go with the so harsh on the player, knowing I would be that person that's probably like, get over here.
Yes,
So
yeah.
because I know they don't know it, I'd rather not affect their young inability of not knowing the game for them just enjoying the sport,
Right.
right?
Right.
I think more coaches at a younger age need to teach enjoy the sport. You
Hmm.
know, I think this is where the difference is going to come in at.
Yeah.
Because if I'm in Canada and I'm in Europe and I don't really know the American football, I don't know it. I can play flag football and I can really learn the skills
Yes.
really good
Yes.
at a young age. And my body has not taken the wear
That
and tear,
toll.
the toll from 7 years old
Yes.
to 40,
Right.
right? So you got to think in a concussion does not have to happen when somebody hit, like you hit
Yeah.
somebody on the field. It can happen when you slap somebody on the head just saying good job,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So I can remember plenty of concussions I got just from somebody hitting my head. I'm like,
Headbutting you for excited for
yes,
you, dude.
my ears like, what are you doing?
I know.
Or you headbutting me after a touchdown. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, what are you doing? So that's what I'm saying. Like, so the the way it's going to really switch and change is going to come down to people preferences.
Yeah.
When they really start looking at what's going on, what, TV time, TV rights, all of that's the business side of it. But when you really get down to the players on the field, coaching a little league flag football team versus contact,
Yeah.
you know, are they getting the same skills? They're getting the same skills.
Yeah.
You know, you might not taking someone down to the ground,
Hmm.
but it's the same skills.
Yeah. I mean, you see people make it to the league. You're a prime example of it that started in high school. You can be
Yeah.
taught how to tackle at that level. It's not that
Oh
you're
yeah.
going to be behind. They're really not
Oh,
picking it up that much anyway. So uh, I'm sure
well,
some
they
kids,
teaching them wrong. They're
correct.
not teaching them how to tackle anyway.
I
If
know.
I could put 10 coaches on here. This is why I don't get in. I can put 10 coaches on here and then say, show me how you tackle. You teach a kid how to tackle. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay. And I guarantee you, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 4 get it right, but the rest are gonna get it wrong. Right.
Yes.
And then I always ask, I said, well, how do you catch a football? Most people say, you do this, or you do that, or you do this. Say, you don't catch a football like that. You catch a football with your
With
eyes
your eyes.
and your hands.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. That's it. If you
Yeah.
don't see it, you don't catch it.
Yep.
So I tell people, I say, if I threw up $10,000 in the air right now, are you concerned about how your hand placement is? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna reach up and you're
Right,
gonna grab.
right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So just little things like that is where I think some of the things are missed, tools are missed from contact to flag.
Yeah,
Because you can actually, if a kid is fearful of getting hit, doesn't mean that he's not really good or giving a hit. Doesn't
exactly.
mean he just needs to know the pieces of the details of what he's doing so he can be safe.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
And I think those things sometimes are going to shine a little bit better with flag football.
Right. Yeah, because even when you're running a route, running that dig in flag football, you catch the ball, you're still looking not to get tackled or looking to
Right.
get your flag pulled. So
You're
it's still
still
that
not,
same
yeah,
movement. Yeah.
right. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And, angles, how you come out the break, are you 2 steps higher than where you're supposed to be? You don't supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So those things, it's 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 the love of the sport. Either
Yes.
one of them is going to be great, I think.
Yep.
But I think there's a huge market of development for flag football.
Hmm. Right.
For
Yeah. And that's globally, right? I mean,
globally.
obviously it's going to be in the Olympics. So, I mean, all over
Mhm.
the place, this is going to be a thing. And you think
Well,
about a traditional football, that's
yep.
mostly in the US. There's Canada, there's Europe, but it's like, it's not on a global scale that it should be
I
like
was
flag
going to give you
football
an
could be.
example of that. Played in Europe, they had Europeans, play on our team.
Yeah.
So they were not as skilled as we were,
Okay.
right? So the Americans playing with the over in Europe, the Europe players, they're not that skilled. So you'll see a wide receiver and you'll watch him. He's like, he can be all right if and then you get us, we like,
Yeah, yeah.
running because we know the game.
Yes.
But here's the magic part of that. Let's say we've trained some overseas players in flag football. They're fast, they're big, they can catch, they can run, they can throw.
Yeah.
Now the NFL look at them and say, well, let me try this guy out.
Yeah.
Right? So if he's fast, he's big, catch, he can do everything that he needs to do, or he can tackle or whatnot through flag football. They can see he can move.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his learning curve might be different to the pros, but now maybe he plays at a college.
Yeah.
Plays for 2 years and he get that added experience he needs, and then he get drafted to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see the similarities from flag football going to college or going to the pros or going to Canada ball and making a team, making a contact sport team. So I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like rugby. You see some of these players coming out of the rugby leagues in different
Yep.
countries, and it's a similar game, not quite the
Yep.
same, but it's similar. And they see the attributes of this guy, and the skills of these guys, and they try them out. And it takes a couple of years for them to transition, but then some of them make it, right? So I think you're right. Flag football would probably be a little bit faster transition, if anything, because it's the same game. You're just not getting hit, you're not making tackles, but that can be taught. So
Yeah, it's the same game.
yeah,
Flag football is it's going to be faster. It's going to
facts.
make you think faster. You don't have to hold everybody on the field. The thing is, if I'm a scout
Yeah,
and I'm looking at a wide receiver, just as to say wide receiver, I'm looking at how he come out of his breaks,
mm-hmm.
right? I'm looking at how he starts. If he's false stepping, his balance is wrong
Yeah,
from starting. So if he's going back to go, his balance is wrong. But if he's straight going, then I know he's over his toes. He has his balance right.
yeah,
He's coming out his breaks. He's got eye and hand coordination. He's catching the ball flat. It's not hitting his hands all loud. He's not
mm-hmm.
catching it in his body. He's reaching out there, bringing it in, tucking stuff like that. You really watch, and when you see that, I think the skills position can transfer over to the NFL really quick.
Right. Yep. No, I agree with you. I'm honestly, man, I'm excited to see you get involved with the GFFL, with your team and, getting back out there on the field, showing
Yep.
helping them with your expertise, and sharing the knowledge that you have. It's going to be exciting, man. So,
Yes.
thanks so much for joining today, Kendall. This has been great. I can't wait for this, like I said. But how can people get involved with the GFFL and the Georgia Warriors, and any your other projects as well?
Okay. Basically, man, y'all, Facebook and Instagram is all there. It's Kendall Newson. The Teach a Child to Fish website is tactf.org. That's tactf.org. Teach a Child to Fish, abbreviated.org. You can reach me there. You can email me at kendall.fishing@gmail.com. For everybody that's listening for the Georgia Warriors, stay tuned. Stay and look out to our social media page that'll be coming up where we're going to start hosting meetings and practice. So we're right now looking for our practice venue and our game venue. We're looking at a couple of high school stadiums and a couple of college stadiums. So we're going to get on the way here this summer with a practice. We get ourselves over to Vegas for that tournament. And just be on the lookout for the information where you can register, sign up. We already got a couple of coaches I'm looking at, training staff, also some medical people that we're looking at bringing on board. We want to let everybody know that Georgia Warriors, it will compete.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to compete, don't come. We want a family. We want team-oriented people. We want community people. And we're going to have fun, and we need all the help we can get. So
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, I cannot wait to see it. I'm excited for the Vegas tournament as well, and to see this thing take off. I know you guys are ready to go with this, so I'm excited, man. Well, thanks again for joining, Kendall. I really appreciate it. Spending time with me and spending time with the listeners.
No problem, man. Thanks for having. Shouts out to the president, Patrick, my homeboy. That's my teammate. I ain't gonna get off this thing without saying what's up to Patrick.
Yes,
What's up,
sir.
Patrick?
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, peace.